know that when we speak of, periods are still very taboo to speak about. But one of the things that people say about painful periods is that historically we were just told that pain is part of your periods, that's what's normal, regardless of how heavy it is. And a lot of times I think people have said, even their own mothers will say that. I'm going to leave it there. So some way I read that actually chronic pain with periods is not normal. And so just open that up.
Absolutely not. You're right. And I think for a long time we've been told that period pain is just a normal part of being a woman, just deal with it, And certainly in endometriosis, occasionally in PCOS, we'll get to that in a moment, but in endometriosis, certainly the pain is probably the most overwhelming symptom. Now, I always say that period pain is not normal. A mild level of discomfort when you have your period, a little bit of discomfort, bloating, feeling uncomfortable, sure, that's fine. But the moment you're experiencing pain, if you look at the pain scale, if you would grade your pain more than a 4 to 5 out of 10, that is not normal. And I think shifting and changing that narrative that period pain is normal is so important, because it's part of the reason why so many people go undiagnosed with this condition, because they believe that what they're experiencing is just part of life. And, there's a statistic that says that it takes on average 8 years for somebody with endometriosis to be diagnosed, because often it's not just them who thinks it's normal, as you said, the family, the boss, right? Booking time off work because you have period pain.
Yeah, big debate, right?
But then also the medical fraternity. Oftentimes people will go to the doctor and say, I have a really painful period. And we know that often women, especially when they complain of pain is often underestimated. Yeah. And oftentimes women will leave just being put on birth control, being given some anti-inflammatory.
We underestimate our own pain. Often by the time we go to the doctor,
it's extreme. You've left it for so long that now it's becoming really unbearable. You've popped all the pain pills that you can, you've done the hot water bottle, you've done everything that you possibly can in your own capacity to solve the problem. But certainly period pain or pain during the menstruation is a feature of endometriosis. However, people with endometriosis often will have pain regardless of the period. So chronic pelvic pain almost every day in some instances. Pain on intercourse, big one. And oftentimes an embarrassing symptom that women don't like to talk about. But if you're having pain on intercourse, red flag, that's a big problem. Regardless of whether it's endometriosis, pelvic inflammatory disease, or something else, if you're having pain on intercourse, that is not normal. And so I think that when it comes to really being honest and being clear with the fact that if you're having pain, especially if it's outside of the normal, especially if it's outside of the time frame, an occasional painful period here and there is one thing. But if you're in pain all the time, it's important to speak to your healthcare practitioner and discuss that, because it could be a sign. I always say that symptoms are your body's language. It's the way your body tells you there's something wrong. Oftentimes you'll have a headache and you just pop a pain pill so the headache goes away. But why do you have the headache? Your body's trying to communicate something with you. Maybe you're tired, maybe you're dehydrated, maybe you've been looking at the screen for too long. Maybe you're too stressed or too anxious. But we oftentimes medicate the symptom without paying attention to why we have the symptom in the first place. Yeah. What is the root cause of the symptom? And that's why it's so important for us to not ignore the language of our bodies. And when your body's telling you that something's wrong and it's giving you the signs, it's so important to pay attention to that.
I love that. You're medicating the symptom without thinking about the root cause. And we do that. We do that often.